Hey guys, today I'll show you a horror thriller film named Until Dawn. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The story centers on 5 aimless young people who travel to a remote village in search of Clover's long-lost sister. They know from a video call that her sister's contact was lost right after she reached the village's small convenience store. Clover shows a photo to the store owner to ask about her sister's whereabouts. The owner claims he doesn't recognize her but mentions that many people come to explore a nearby haunted house each year and that strange disappearances are common. He suggests that her sister might have vanished in the haunted house as well. The well-meaning owner points them to the location of the haunted house. The group of 5 drives down a forest path, and before they know it, they're in a desolate, uninhabited area. Heavy raindrops begin to fall, and the violent storm batters their car, causing it to sway. Some suggest turning back, while others insist on continuing the search. Suddenly, the rain stops. In front of them stands an abandoned building with a lone, unmarked grave nearby. It seems they've arrived at the haunted house, but when they look up, the sky is split in two, one half dark with storm clouds, the other half clear and sunny. Looking back, they see the rain hasn't stopped at all. With no cell signal, the place feels completely cut off from the world. The group is stunned by the bizarre sight of the half-raining, half-sunny sky. Clover feels a sense of foreboding as she stands on the dividing line between sun and rain. Her devoted admirer, Max, notices her strange behavior and stays close behind her. The other 3 have already entered the haunted house. Inside, it's filled with antique furniture, a calendar is stopped on a day in 1998, and a giant hourglass hangs at the end of the main hall. Megan goes to the bathroom to wash her greasy face, but not a single drop of water comes out. Meanwhile, Nina notices a journal filled with names, as if visitors had signed it to mark their presence. She signs her own name, but as she flips through the pages, she finds the signature of Clover's sister, written 13 times, each entry more frantic than the last. At the same time, Nina's boyfriend, Abe, is in the study, where he discovers countless missing person posters. Clover's sister is among them, but strangely, the posters only have a photograph with no contact information. Outside, Clover stares into the curtain of rain and suddenly sees the silhouette of her sister. She rushes recklessly into the storm, but the figure vanishes instantly. Blinded by the downpour, Clover runs wildly, losing her sense of direction. Suddenly, a pair of strong hands grabs her sexy body. It's Max, pulling her out of the rain. Before they knew it, night has fallen. The 5 of them regroup inside the haunted house, each sharing the strange things they've encountered, most of which are related to the missing sister. As they're talking, the hourglass automatically flips over, and a strange noise comes from outside. They open the door to see that someone has started their car and turned on the headlights. But the person inside neither drives away nor gets out, as if intentionally provoking them. Fearing the person might be armed, the group of 5 quickly retreats inside. With no cell service, they can't call the police and can only try to find another exit. After a brief discussion, they decide to split up. Nina and Abe stay by the window to keep an eye on the car, while the other 3, Clover, Max, and Megan, go to search the rest of the house. The trio makes their way to the pitch-black basement. The lights on this level are broken, so they have to navigate with flashlights. Strangely, the basement is several times larger than the floor above, complete with a dining room, kitchen, and living room. It even has windows. Max finds this very odd, wondering why a basement would have windows. Just then, Clover discovers a radio set and tries to make contact with the outside world, but only manages to hear a distorted voice. At the same time, upstairs, Abe is lured into the study by a strange sound. After waiting for a long time, Nina calls out to him but gets no response. She decides to check the study herself. As she pushes the door open, she's hit by the heavy smell of blood. She flips on the light, and a blood-soaked masked man suddenly appears before her. Beside him is Abe, who has been cut in half at the waist. Nina lets out a piercing scream. The trio in the basement hears the chicken scream and rushes upstairs, just in time to see the back of the masked man. Max tells the 2 girls to hide while he grabs a chair to launch a sneak attack, but he is immediately killed when the man smashes his head in with a single blow. The masked man continues his search. He walks past Clover, who is hiding behind a door, and heads straight for a wardrobe. He yanks Megan out and brutally smashes her head against the floor until she is a bloody pulp. Mustering her courage, Clover rushes out and stabs the masked man, but he seems to feel no pain and is completely unharmed. Seeing this, Clover turns and flees, running into the woods at the speed of a champion sprinter. However, the forest is pitch black, and she trips over a rock, falling flat on her face. When she gets up, her sister appears in the distance. Overjoyed, Clover is about to run to her when the masked man impales her through the stomach. At this point, the entire group has been wiped out. The sand in the hourglass runs out. The turn of gears, the hourglass flips over again and a new countdown begins. The 5 are all resurrected, appearing safe and sound inside the haunted house. Nina looks down and notices that she has somehow signed her name in the journal a second time. They all realize they are in a death loop. As the lights flicker, the front door swings open and shut. Abe decisively holds the door closed. Terrified the masked man will break in again. Suddenly, Megan, who has psychic abilities, clutches her stomach in pain. She begins to convulse and her eyes roll back, her body jerking as if she were breakdancing. With a final scream, the light bulb above them explodes and Megan vanishes. The remaining 4, too scared to split up, huddle together and search every corner for Megan. They find her standing rigidly in front of the missing purse posters, speaking in the voices of an old man, a child, and a woman in succession. It's clear she has been possessed by the ghosts of the missing people. Through Megan's body, the spirits vent their rage over their wrongful deaths, explaining that the village is cursed and warning them to never open the door at night. As soon as the words are spoken, the spirits snap Megan's neck. Before the remaining 4 can even grieve, a knock comes from the door. It is Clover's sister, crying for help and claiming a terrible monster is chasing her. Clover wants to open the door to save her, but Abe holds her back. He suspects the person outside isn't her sister at all, and reminds her of Megan's last words, "Never open the door." Clover, however, is overwhelmed by her sister's pleas and desperately struggles to get to the door. Max darts forward and opens it. As expected, there is no one outside. But in the distance, a dilapidated wooden cabin has suddenly appeared. As they stand there confused, Clover is lifted into the air by an invisible force, slammed violently to the ground, and then dragged quickly into the cabin. The other 3 are thrown back into the haunted house as the main door slams shut. Max urges them to stick together to rescue Clover. But Abe dismisses the idea, arguing that Clover is likely already dead and going after her would be suicide. He tells Max to stop being such a simp, warning that a simp will get nothing in the end. Enraged, Max hurls a vicious curse at him and heads to the cabin alone. Meanwhile, Clover awakens inside the cabin, surrounded by creepy plastic mannequins, each wearing a mask, along with various witchcraft trinkets. An old witch lunges at her, clamping a hand over her mouth and nose. The witch cackles that only by surviving until dawn can she break the curse. Otherwise, she will be completely consumed by the house, just like her. At the moment Clover is about to suffocate, the old witch crumbles into a pile of bones. Clover then reveals a chilling smile, indicating that she has been possessed by the witch. When Max arrives, the masked Clover kills him with a single stab. She then heads off to finish Abe and Nina, but finds the masked man has already killed them. As soon as Clover steps out of the cabin, the masked man kills her too. After the group is wiped out, the 3rd death countdown begins. This time, Clover leads everyone to hide in the bathroom. She has learned a critical piece of information from the old witch. They just have to survive until dawn to be saved. Tormented by thirst, they discover that the faucet, which was previously dry, is now flowing with clean water. Abe greedily gulps it down, then fills a cup to share. A short while later, he feels a sharp pain in his stomach and begins to cough uncontrollably, spitting up large amounts of pus and blood. They realize the water is poisoned, but it's too late. Abe, who drank the most, explodes on the spot. Nina bursts as well, her blood and flesh mingling with her boyfriend's. Megan suffers the worst fate. First, one of her legs explodes, then her stomach bloats like a balloon as her organs rupture. She endures this extreme agony before her head finally explodes. Not wanting such a painful death, Clover begs Max to strangle her quickly. But before he can act, he too explodes into a pulp. Clover lies on the floor in despair, praying for a quick explosive end. Just then, a bearded man walks in to flex his messy beard. It's the convenience store owner. He tells Clover that she can only be saved by fighting with all her might. Staying put is a death sentence. As he finishes speaking, Clover also dissolves into a pool of blood. The gears turn, the hourglass resets, and the 4th round of the death game begins. Now armed with another rule, never be a sitting duck, Clover leads the group to search for clues. A newspaper article reveals that many years ago, the village suffered a massive earthquake, and most of its buildings were buried underground. Max has a moment of clarity. The basement was actually the ground floor. It was buried in the earthquake, which is why it was mistaken for a basement and why it had windows. Following Max's logic, Nina reasons that if it was the ground floor, it must have a main entrance. Perhaps escaping through that door would break the death loop. She decisively opens the door, revealing a deep, dark tunnel that looks incredibly eerie. No one dares to enter, not knowing what lurks inside. They unanimously decide to find another way. Max finds a pile of videotapes. The first one he plays turns out to be an adult film. Undeterred, he plays another tape, and this time the TV screen finally reveals the secret behind the haunted house. It turns out the bearded man is a professor who led a team to the village after the earthquake, ostensibly for a rescue mission. In reality, it was an inhumane human experiment. He trapped survivors in the haunted house in pairs and injected them daily with a strange drug. At first, the subject's skin would peel off, and their bones would gradually twist and deform. Within 13 days, they would transform into soulless, flesh-eating zombies. In addition to the zombies, there were the elusive masked men, who were likely members of his research team who had also died. The house, having consumed so many vengeful souls, gradually became a living hell. The bearded professor used a combination of witchcraft and mechanics to transform the house into a world of infinite death loops. With the mystery solved, the professor's voice crackles through the radio, announcing a new rule. If they hand over one person, the other 4 can leave safely. Clover scoffs at the idea, confident she can lead everyone to safety, including her sister. Hearing that Clover is still thinking about her sister, the professor decides to grant her wish, telling her to go into the woods alone where her sister is waiting. Clover readily agrees and, ignoring the others' protests, heads into the woods. This time only Abe doesn't try to stop her. In fact, he forbids anyone from going to her rescue. He remembers the professor's first rule: 1 death for 4 survivors. If Clover dies in the woods, the rest of them will be saved. Nina, disgusted by Abe's selfishness, stabs and severely injures him. Before setting out to rescue Clover, the remaining 3 make a pact, not one less. If Clover is already dead, the others must kill themselves on the spot to restart the game. Meanwhile, Clover arrives at the designated spot. As she paces, her foot gets caught in a bear trap. A chain slowly tightens, dragging her into the darkness. Back at the house, Nina stays to look after Abe while Max and Megan head into the woods. Along the way, they see many houses buried by the earthquake, with only their rooftops showing. Suddenly, the roar of a beast echoes from nearby. They quickly hide behind a tree. A drop of sticky liquid falls on Megan. Looking up, she sees it's saliva from a zombie. The 2 run for their lives, their speed putting a great distance between them and the zombie. But then, Megan trips and falls onto a glass skylight on a buried roof. The glass is already cracked, and she is moments from falling through. Luckily, Max grabs her hand in time. But just as he's about to pull her up, the zombie grabs Megan's ankle. The tug-of-war shatters the glass, and the unfortunate Megan falls to her death, her body becoming the zombie's midnight snack. When Max finds Clover, she has been tortured and is covered in bite marks. She looks fearfully into the darkness, saying that a terrifying monster is hiding there. Max hurries to pry open the bear trap. The next second, a woman with a mouthful of fangs lunges out. Judging by her hairstyle and floral dress, it must be Clover's sister. Max grabs the bear trap and clamps it on the zombie sister's mouth, then drags Clover away. But her injuries are too severe, so they take refuge in the small wooden cabin. Seeing Clover's immense pain, Max decides to give her a quick end. Steeling himself, he slits her throat. He then drinks a mouthful of contaminated salt water, choosing to self-destruct and restart the game. Back in the haunted house, Nina and Abe are killed by the masked man. A new death game begins. This time, the reborn group is overcome with exhaustion. Abe lifts his shirt, revealing that the bones in his back are starting to protrude through his skin, just like the soon-to-be zombies in the videotape. The video mentioned that no one could last 13 days. They have only been through 4 loops, so by logic, it should be the 5th day, with many chances left. But Nina reveals a terrifying fact. Her name has been signed in the journal 12 times, meaning this revival is their very last chance. They rack their brains but can't remember what happened in loops 5 through 12. Abe checks his phone and finds a slew of new videos. The forgotten rounds of the game appear before their eyes. In one, tentacles grow out of Clover's face, which then rots into a bloody hole as she fully mutates. In another, they are all torn into pieces by zombies. After they all die in the 12th loop, Megan is dragged by the bearded professor into the tunnel. Seeing Megan on the screen, the four finally realize she is missing. According to the game's rules, everyone should respawn at the haunted house after dying. If Megan wasn't dead, the game wouldn't have restarted. If she was dead, why did she disappear from the house? There's only one possibility. She has escaped the range of the death loop. The video shows her being dragged into the tunnel by the professor. It seems the tunnel is the only way out of the house. At that moment, a horde of zombies surrounds the house. The four have no choice but to brave the tunnel. But the tunnel is also filled with zombies, who are accustomed to the darkness and are far more agile in the pitch-black environment. The four run until they're exhausted and finally duck into a sealed room. By climbing a ladder, they can escape. But as it turns out, the masked man is lying in wait for them. While the other three fight the masked man, Clover makes a bold decision to go deeper into the tunnel, intending to rescue Megan alone. However, her zombie sister blocks her path. Knowing her sister's soul has been consumed by the house and that this is just a walking corpse, Clover attacks first, using her weight to push the zombie sister to the ground. A sharp spike on the floor impales her sister's body. The next sealed room is lit by a pulsing red light. Clover sees a giant monster roaming nearby and quickly turns off her flashlight, hiding in a corner and holding her breath. When the footsteps fade, she hurries to a laboratory and successfully finds Megan, but Megan is locked inside, and nearby a zombie is chained up, looking like it could break free at any moment. Clover must find the key quickly. Next to the lab is a doctor's office. On the desk is Clover's medical file, and the bearded professor is waiting for her. He reveals the final twist. The death game was designed for Clover alone. Her unfortunate friends were just NPCs. He chose Clover because her inner world is exceptionally dark. She suffers from depression and anxiety and possesses many extreme emotions. Her fears manifested as the masked man, her anxiety as the old witch, and the explosions as her self-destructive tendencies. The house needs to feed on souls to exist, but to run the game, it must feed on Clover's extreme emotions. As the professor gloats, he fails to notice Clover quietly moving his coffee cup. Dirty water dripping from the ceiling mixes into his coffee, which he then drinks. The tunnel is outside the death loop's range, meaning the professor cannot be resurrected after he self-destructs. As he explodes into a pool of blood, the game ends. Clover grabs the key and races against time to save Megan. The two of them break through the earth and emerge from the grave outside the haunted house. Her three friends are waiting for them at the exit. All five have escaped safely. The sun rises, the rain stops, and the story ends. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.